Here we go with a Week 10 edition of Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm JB Long, and each week this is when we get together to discuss the Rams' upcoming game and the state of the franchise. Erica, Tamposi, DeMarco Farr, and Maurice Jones-Drew are with us today. And unfortunately, we have another injury update that will lead our show. But before we get to Matthew Stafford and the concussion protocol, what's been the best part of each of your weeks so far? MJD, you want to lead off?
It's championship week. You know, in youth football, it's time. The time is now. I did steal a couple plays from the Rams that we'll utilize this week. Hopefully they work for us so then they can, in return, give that good favor back to the Rams on Sunday so that they can play well and we can all be happy again.
I mean, I can already see it in the comments section. You're stealing plays from the Rams offensively?
Oh, no question. No question.
All right.
Some great plays, great schemes. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna dial it up. Let it, give it some good juju, send it back up to the football guys so they can send it, let it rain down on SoFi Stadium come Sunday.
I hope your number 10 is good as the one in Royal and Soul. Erica, how about you? What's the highlight of the week so far?
I know you're setting me up to talk about going to the Harry Styles concert last night that I went on a whim, but this is the highlight of my week every week, you guys. I love Thursday mornings, starting my day off with you four. And I mean that.
We don't even wear boas on this show.
I know. I could get some. Could bring them out, and we could all do it.
Try it. DeMarco, how are you?
Good. Besides you guys, like Erica said, doing BTH, the highlight of my week, I made perfect blueberry pancakes this morning. I mean, absolutely award-winning blueberry pancakes. There's not a single one left, and I didn't have one.
Wow. What constitutes perfection? How do you measure perfection in the pancake game?
When my daughter eats them. Without me telling her twice, please eat your breakfast.
All right, so they don't have to be Instagram worthy. They just have to be edible.
Okay.
I thought about taking a picture. I'm just not that guy, but these were so perfect. I almost took, I should have taken a picture. I should have. Yeah.
All right. Not trying to force this segue, but we know that the Rams have been far from perfect in the first half of their season. Here come the Arizona Cardinals. They've been the friendliest opponents in the Sean McVay era, maybe just what the Rams need at SoFi Stadium to get started in their second half. But more adversity has struck. We found out yesterday, Wednesday, in Sean McVay's press conference that Matthew Stafford has entered the concussion protocol. Erica, your reaction was?
Can't say these words on live TV. I definitely was like, oh my God, this is insane. But I listened to the presser of McVay, and I think that it's a really great thing that the league is taking this so seriously right now. Unfortunately, it came from, I think, a lot of scrutiny during, what happened with Tua down in Miami, but for whatever reason, the professionals felt that it wasn't the best time right now for Matthew. And so I think that it's great that they're holding him out because, like McVay said, and like we all feel, it's about the player first. And also, too, if John Wolford has stepped up before when the Rams have needed him to. After reading his piece detailing on how regimented his every hour of the day is and going through plays and listing them in the car, playing them on Bluetooth, and then listening to his presser yesterday, he is like, I am taking these reps, and if I need to be called upon, I'm ready to do so. And so I think, of course, you want the best for Matthew and you hope he plays, but I think that the Rams have a really, great backup plan.
Yeah, well said. That was in The Athletic, the guest column by John Wolford recently. We were hoping that would not be foreshadowing a potential start here in Week 10, but that may prove to be the case. DeMarco, I'll never forget, I forget which season of struggle it was in, where you said something to the effect of, it can always get worse in the National Football League. Just when you think you've bottomed out, there's always something that can make it harder. Hopefully that's not the situation the Rams are in right now.
Was that in the seasons past, or were we talking about this year when Matthew Stafford was getting knocked around a bit? Like, it could get worse. If you lose him, it could get worse. And here we are. John Wolford, someday, if we're all still doing this, we'll be talking about him as an offensive coordinator, possibly a head coach. The guy is a football junkie. He loves it. And I think you have to be regimented to be a backup because you're taking all the reps, all the mental reps, but you're not playing the game. So you have to keep yourself interested. So the thing about Matthew Stafford, I am not surprised The guy has taken an absolute beating. And you would think you would have to start protecting your best asset. But there is one confusing thing. He finished the game in Tampa, right? He took all 57 snaps. So I'm going back and looking through the game. Did he get up and shake his head? What happened? But the week before, they put him in the blue tent. Tampa got to him a few times. Vita Vea knocking you to the ground is going to scramble something and break something. So I'm not surprised. A little disappointed, but and I can echo Mrs. Stafford. I understand why she's angry. You guys should have been in our player section back in the day. It was absolutely ruthless. Maurice, they had to switch us because the offense was in front of the family section. And they used to give them hell. I mean, absolutely give it to them. So we had to flop sides. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be upset if my husband was taking a beating, and you'd have to be a little cautious with your best asset, your quarterback. So it's John Wolford time until Matthew Stafford can get healthy and you can protect your quarterback a little bit better.
Or maybe a Bryce Perkins package, if not more, too, is always an option with what they have on the depth chart. MJD, we remember when Wolford won a must-have game against these Arizona Cardinals at the end of the 20 season, albeit that was against Chris Streveler for the most part. I don't think he's going to be making an appearance at quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals this week, although Kyler, as we found out on Hard Knocks last night, did get his hamstring a bit in the loss to the Seahawks. He does have Colt McCoy as his backup this season.
Yeah, I think Wolford's athleticism may help out a little bit more to what we're seeing the struggles with the offensive line, right? I think we will see a switch in that offensive line as well. But when you have that read option, that quarterback that can scramble, that quarterback that can kind of make things with his legs, is going to help your offense a little bit more. The one thing about Matthew Stafford that we've always talked about is he has a terrific arm, but not the best athlete. He's not going to scramble for first downs, where Wolford has done an awesome job in his time with some quarterback run packages, some read option packages, and then when things get a little wacky in the pocket, taking off and finding a way to get that first down. And that's what they need. You got to find a way when your offense is struggling, you have to find a way to get 10 yards, whatever it is, to keep your defense off the field, right? And so this may be something we've talked about. JB, you talked about the success the Rams have had against the Arizona Cardinals. It was very similar to the success they've had against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which offensively you did almost enough. It was right there. We had it, but we couldn't get that first down. And so maybe it's that time to see if the scrambling quarterback package, or if, Wolford or Perkins or whoever can go and get that extra couple yards there for the Rams. So I'm excited to see whoever it is. I'm excited to see what type of changes Sean McVay and his staff will have, because let's go back to 2019 when we had to have that game against the Chicago Bears, and they made some adjustments. They adjusted. They ran the ball differently. They did some different things, and they got a victory. Now, this is a little bit different type of adversity, right? Guys are out for the season. Guys aren't coming back. How can you kind of mix this, get in your lab and mix this thing up and figure out what you can do to get this team back on track?
Yeah, I do want to point out that some sort of change was being promised as early as the post-game locker room in Tampa Bay. We didn't know that this was going to be part of the change by necessity, and we still may not get to that point if Matthew Stafford is able to clear the concussion protocol and make Sunday's start. But something was going to change this week. That much had been promised, and it seems like another offensive line combination could be part of that, DeMarco. Liked what we saw from Chandler Brewer in his first NFL start, and Coleman Shelton has been activated in the practice window. So it could be 9 different starting combinations in Game 9 on Sunday at SoFi.
Chandler Brewer, one of my favorite Rams, love talking to him pregame. Smart guy, gets it. He was a very capable backup. I'm glad he got some run. When he sat down with you, I learned some things about him I did not know, so made me like him even more, what he's overcome. But, yeah, absolutely. I thought he had one of the better games versus Tampa. I thought he was active running pass. I thought he was, dare I say, your best guard. But making a move to who, to what, to where? Who are you removing out of the offensive line, and who are you sticking in there? That's the question I have. I mean, because the cupboard is not – it's kind of bare behind the starters you have. So who are you sliding in there to be a starter?
Well, I know they were saying that what are they saying? Coleman Shelton.
Coleman Shelton is coming back.
Is coming back
to right guard and put Brewer at left guard.
That may be an option.
Okay.
Or,
well, I guess,
or if you like the lefty at left guard, that's also a possibility. But I mean, we might as well come out and say it. Bobby Evans would probably be the odd man out. I don't think that's any major mystery to our audience. Maybe Kyron Williams joins the backfield. That could be another change. I'll put this as generically as possible. Yeah. Jake Gervais has as many receptions this season as Tutu Atwell, Van Jefferson, Bryson Hopkins, Lance McCutcheon, and even Jacob Harris combined, right? Many of those players are people you selected that you drafted. And whether by choice or by necessity, figured to get their opportunity at some point this season, maybe this is that week where you can leverage other corners of your roster to your advantage.
So empty the bench, so to speak, and get them
that's probably putting it too strong. Like, I think in the context of whatever creative solutions they can find this week, depending on who's at quarterback, who else can give you something? Who else can take a jet sweep? Who else can run vertical and track a football? Who else can force the Cardinals defensively to read and react to something that you don't have on film yet is my thought there.
Well, fair enough. The Rams offense versus defenses with great defensive ends, obvious passing downs, it's almost been a wrap. Buffalo, Dallas, San Francisco, I think 15 of the 28 sacks have come from them. Teams with average tackles have the same effect as Aaron Donald on certain passing situations because of what's going on up front. So if you can figure out a way to block them up, and I think Arizona fits that same sort of category, I think you'll have a chance to run the football. They're pretty soft up front. And you'll have a chance to throw the football based on play action. So this week, as opposed to last week and the week before, I think the offense, with a similar approach, should be able to move the football. Let's say this, Maurice, and this would be hard for me, man. If you have a situation to win the game with 1 first down, I think you'll have a chance to do it versus Arizona if you run the same 3 plays. Is that fair?
I think so. It just, again, it comes down to two things. It depends on who's the quarterback, first and foremost. If Matthew Stafford's a quarterback, you have to shore up those 3 interior guys. Whoever that leakage is, as it was kind of documented, Bobby Evans struggled against Tampa. You got to shore that up, right? If you shore that up, now you don't have to worry about that outside pressure. There wasn't a lot of outside pressure coming for Matthew Stafford in that Tampa game. It was all up the middle. And so if you can shore that up to give him a pocket where he can stand tall and be able to throw the ball and deliver, I think you have a chance to really go down and move the ball against Tampa. Mm-hmm. I think in Arizona, I'm saying this is Tampa. So I think in Arizona, if you shore that up, a lot of those big running plays came through the middle, right? Where where Darrell Henderson's running one way and cuts up. So if you can shore up those 3 interior guys, make sure that is solid in whatever way, shape, or form you can do that, you can run the ball in Arizona. You can get a first down running 3 outside zone plays or a fly sweep. Like, I don't think that they don't have the hog that Tampa had, or the 2 hogs that Tampa had, right? They don't have those type of guys. So it's a different personnel, similar system though.
Erica, you want to jump in here? I mean, I have to remind myself that was probably the worst offensive game I've seen the Rams play. It's on the short list, if nothing else. And still they had it won. They should have won it.
Right. It was frustrating, I'm sure. It was definitely frustrating for us, but you could feel after the game how frustrating it was for them and how frustrated the defense was. And Jalen Ramsey has been publicly saying that, like, this needs to change. There need to be changes. The defense was after that 4th down stop, they should not have been, back on the field. But it's a team sport, and when one of the other side is struggling, like it takes everyone. And I still think that there's things that and I'm struggling to say this without making it there's that drop that Van Jefferson is probably replaying over in his mind every night since. There's that. There was a couple of potential picks that they just couldn't hold on to. I think that they are really starting to get into their groove. Like, Allen Robinson had a really beautiful catch. If they can start capitalizing on these actual things, and Van just getting his legs out from under him. He went from 0 targets in his first game back to just that. And Higbee hasn't caught a ball in 2 games. It's just, I think this team is really, they all need to go out to like a buffet dinner together and sit around the table and just be like, we're not getting up until I know your dog's name and your sister's cousin. And like, we need to lock them all in a room and say your trust falls. Like, I don't know, but it's starting to get there. It's just unfortunate that it's week 10 that it's taking the time to get there.
Be careful, DeMarco. Erica. Somebody might hire you as a head coach.
DeMarco, I love the way you put it in our chat with Sean McVay on Monday, though, reacting to what Jalen Ramsey said. What was it like? I feel for him, but I don't feel sorry for him. Something to that effect. And now you see a week where we totally agree that defense should not have had to go back on the field, but they prepared to this week.
I feel him. I understand your frustration, but I don't feel for you. You're on defense. You got to make stops. It's unfair to ask that defense to go back out there based on what they just did, stopping Tom Brady on 4th down in his own house. Have you guys seen that movie Black Hawk Down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so remember those guys? They fought their way through a city, and they finally made it to safety. It's like asking those guys to go back in the city.
And that's what you have to do.
We need you one more time. But that's just not fair. You need 10 yards.
Hey,
see, this
DeMarco,
is me and you. This is me and Maurice on the same football team.
DeMarco,
I'm on defense. He's on offense. You guys can't get 10 yards to end the game. Take a shower on the other end.
Hey, life is not fair.
Matter of fact, don't shower.
But what happens? But what happens if it was the other way around, which it has been in the past, right? Where the offense needed to go and close out games and they didn't. Like, I'm not upset with Jalen Ramsey being mad, but this is the part of football that we have to understand. The ebb and flows of it. Sometimes you're a defensive-led team. Sometimes you're an offensive-led team. And when you're a defensive-led team like the Rams are, you have to do things that you may not want to do or you may not have to do. And so just like Black Hawk Down, if you were asked to go back out there, guess what? Strap up. Make sure you reload, get you some water, and let's get back. Let's go get this thing. Let's get back.
You're going, but you're hot about it. That's what I'm saying. Like a 4th down stop against Tom Brady in Tampa. Did you see the reaction of that defense? The game was over.
They did it all day, and guess what? Do it again. And that is the mindset you have to have.
Down there.
As a defensive player, though, let's be honest. As a defensive player, when you have sudden change, what does your mindset have to be?
Oh, you got to get back up.
We can't worry about what they're doing over there. They got to fix. We got to get back out there. The same thing in this situation. Regardless of what just happened or what we just did, we have to click back in and be able to – we can't allow a big chunk on the first play. You can't allow that, right? But that's because they were still worried about what happened, what the offense did. And so
you shouldn't have been out there, Maurice.
You shouldn't have been out there, but you were. And let's get this W. You can cuss me out in the locker room, but get this W. You see what I'm saying?
That's why, JB, I feel him. I don't feel for him. It's the job.
And on his show, I thought he did a great job explaining where his emotions were coming from and also giving us some behind the scenes about, I think, the relationships that he's built up with his teammates, including an interaction with Jacob Harris at practice that I think allows him as a leader of this team to speak truth. And there was a lot of that, it sounded like, in Tampa Bay and flying home. And since then, and I can't wait to see what the results are on Sunday against an Arizona Cardinal team. And I don't know if Black Hawk Down is on HBO right now. I'll have to check the streaming services, but Hard Knocks is. Did anyone watch last night?
I did.
What'd you think? Yeah, we know Harry Styles over Hard Knocks. We got you, Erica. I thought it was good. I thought it was really well done. I mean, Budda Baker is awesome. That's my primary takeaway, and he's not going to play because of that ankle injury.
Oh, thank you.
I think before I watched that episode of Hard Knocks, I thought that was a really big deal. Now I think it's massive based on how much of an emotional and performance leader he is on that Arizona defense.
Clearly their best player, offense and defense. That includes Kyler Murray. That guy closes so fast, and his reaction, his instincts, letter perfect. He is great.
I mean, the rest of the defensive position coach is saying, I challenge someone to play harder than Budda Baker this week. Like, that was amazing. That type of access. God bless you, Erica. I think that was an off-camera sneeze, but we still caught it. Good job muting yourself. Well done.
Thanks, I tried.
But MJD, the point is the Cardinals are banged up too.
Yeah.
Kyler with a hamstring is not Kyler at full strength with full threat to run and pass. Their offensive line dinged up, just like the Rams has been. So I'll be curious what temperament they bring to SoFi Stadium in Week 10.
It's one of those things let's see if I can think of a movie. I can't. It doesn't matter. Your back is against the wall if you're the Rams. And no matter who that opponent is, you have to go out there and play as if this is your Super Bowl, right? This is where you are. You're in the playoffs. And so I've been in this situation in my career. I've only been to the playoffs once, but I've been in this playoff race multiple times, and we just didn't make it at the end because we had to start too quickly because we didn't start the season the best way. So you're in the playoffs now, and every play matters. Every snap matters. Every step, every, coverage read or eye violation, all those things end up mattering. They add up to whether you win or lose, and you get a chance to make it to the dance. And so, yes, it's the halfway point, but the Rams have put themselves in a position where they have to go out and compete like they're in the playoffs week after week after week. And this is your first stop. Now, just so happens that this team is just as banged up as you are. Just so happens that you've had a lot of success, kind of like last week. But the question is, can you learn from last week and move on? Can you finish a game? Can you close out a game where 4-minute mode, and we always talk about being a master of the situation with the Rams, and that's been one of their sayings over the last couple of years. And it kind of like bit them in the butt a little bit with Cooper Kupp sliding right before, trying to stay in bounds and keep the clock running instead of trying to get the first down. And so let's see if they can learn from those mistakes. And I watched the coach's show. I was like, let me check this out because I try to watch it every week. But this one, I really stayed too. You guys asked some great questions. And to hear McVay kind of say like, yeah, we wish, or hindsight is this, and we wish he would have did that. Let's see if you make that adjustment because I feel like the football guys will put the Rams in a very similar situation, either on offense or defense, to see if they learn from last week.
That coaching point on Kupp, by the way, from McVay's standpoint, was probably not a situation where you're going to get that first down. So do stay in bounds if you can, but go head first if you go low, if you go to the ground, instead of giving yourself up and losing those couple of yards. Maybe it's 3rd and 3, even 3rd and 2 rather than 3rd and 5. And to McVay's part, he said he would also probably throw the football on 3rd and 5, try and end that game on offense. All right, Eric, I'll give it back to you here, but I just want to read out some records here. 3-6, 3-6, 6-2, 6-3, 2-6, 3-6, 3-5, 5-3, 6-3. Those are the records of the Rams' remaining opponents. 6-3 being the Seahawks twice. This is all still in front of them. I know it doesn't feel like it here midweek, week 10. And part of me doesn't care about the records of their opponents because until we see good football from the Rams, what does it all matter? Where do you stand on where the Rams are at the midway point of the National Football League schedule?
I think that this, we always say we want to see adjustments. We want to see change. We've been getting the PR speeches like, the season's still in front of us answer out of everyone here. I do feel like the energy has shifted after this Tampa Bay loss. I really do feel that these players are angry. McVay is angry. The, players are really starting to feel like, hey, if we don't figure this out, this is enough of, it's sort of like when you're procrastinating for a test. You're like, it's 2 weeks. I don't really have to study. Until it's the night before. And you're like, yeah, I need to sit down and I need to do everything I can to make sure that I pass this test tomorrow. And I feel that they've really sort of turned a corner. So I'm not ruling them out by any means. I think a win on Sunday will be huge and sort of make it very hard for the Cardinals. The rest of the league is still so even besides a few front runners. Like, it's a very weird season, and that works in the Rams' favor.
DeMarco, MJD, just a quick technical question. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen with Stafford and the concussion protocol. The next update from McVay won't come until Friday and that injury report. But from your experience and given Matthew Stafford's, if for some reason he does clear before Sunday, would he be able to start him? Would you start him with no practice on Sunday?
Yeah,
if he was clear, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So he can walk right into whatever the game plan is and execute it without.
I would say this: yes, if he clears, I'm starting him versus Arizona. Now, if it's San Francisco coming to town, I might give him another week. You know what I mean?
Maurice does, based on that reaction. For those of you listening to the audio podcast, Maurice is frantically shaking his head.
Again, San Fran, stay out. We don't want that. I would say this: the concussion protocol is very important. There's different levels to it, though. There's levels where you can go to meetings, can't practice, right? There's things where you can do walkthroughs where they don't want you running and being hit and different things you can get. So I still think that, I don't know what level he's in, so it just depends on that level. But if he is cleared and he has a understanding of the game plan and what you want to do, you start him every day of the week.
Got it. All right, we will wait and see, regardless of who's behind the center. This has been a week where the Rams are determined to do something different to achieve new outcomes against a familiar opponent and the one they've had the most success against over the last 6 seasons. Erica, MJD, DeMarco, thank you for getting together midweek. We started with what was the highlight of your week. I hope there are more highlights between now and when we get together at SoFi Stadium. Only home game this month. How about that?
Wow.
Right? Because then it's at
Getaway
New Orleans, Thanksgiving, at Kansas City. I'll be really curious to see where are the Rams and what are they playing for by their next home game when they get to finally connect with the Seattle Seahawks. All right, that's it for now. For my panel of esteemed colleagues, this has been Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium.